Hello and welcome to my RTI build. So this is going to be a collection of my Instagram story for the first month of owning this car and what I went through. And part of that is going to be me swapping this car from automatic to manual, but you'll see where we got to that and why that happened. So I had not started a YouTube yet, which is why all these videos are from my Instagram story are going to be in portrait mode. I started my YouTube channel literally like a month and a half after I did all this, which kind of sucks, and which is why all these videos are going to have like text in and stuff, because again it's from my Instagram story. And with it being from my Instagram story, a lot of my clips had background music in it, and it's all copyrighted stuff. So I had to rip that out of these videos, and I have an overlay of some music playing, so let's jump into it. So I bought this car sight unseen from a guy I've been following on Instagram for a very long time. He bought it from the importer who brought it in, and he had been having hard times with it, trying to get it daily drivable. It's been in and out of the shop, and he finally just gave up and put it up for sale. So I bought it, got it shipped to me, and this was basically the second day of me owning it. I was just going over it, checking everything out, washing it, and just seeing the condition of everything. So it's a RTI auto stock, everything other than the suspension really. The AC worked in it, it blew cold. All the auto air conditioning also worked, which was a big plus in my book. So before I dove into the oil leak problems, which I knew from the beginning, I wanted to get the car sitting where I wanted it. The previous owner had it fully raised, and you can't be rolling around like that. So here I was adjusting the front and rear, just getting it leveled out before we dove into the hard stuff. And I went ahead and tried my Starks on the car before I got powder coated, and I was really digging the white with the RT wheels, so went ahead and decided to go with white when I sent them off to the powder coat. So now we get into the meat and potatoes of this video. When I bought this car, I knew it was leaking, and we finally start to dive into it. And first, I think it's the oil pan gasket, and you'll see here that I've got oil all over the place. And so I decided to drop the oil pan, try to fix it. And you can see this gasket was tore up. I don't know what the guy was doing that did one prior, because it looks pretty fresh, but he destroyed it. There was like marks all over the transfer case where someone had pulled it prior. Thankfully they didn't break too much, but there was some broken stuff on the transfer case I did have to fix, which you can see here in this video. And so my goal here was try to get the oil pan fixed. Obviously I lost all my automatic transmission fluid, and I was just trying to get it back together and not leaking so we can just enjoy the car. I wasn't planning on doing anything crazy for a while. So get the oil pan finally finished up, back together. Of course Raymond always comes by. Do a burnout! We got the oil pan back together, and here I'm just showing that, also showing the transfer case where we put the Honda bond on. Everything's not leaking, got all my fluids back in. I was trying to figure out the torque spec on everything back there, and thankfully I did have this manual laying around, and it did have some information in there that I needed. here's the big trip, see if everything worked, and of course it started leaking again. So at this point I was pretty sure I had done the oil pan gasket wrong, so everything had to come back out. So I did an all-nighter, pulling the pan again, resealing it, went on test drive, and it started leaking again. At this point I was pretty sure it was the rear main seal, and we pulled the trans, and sure enough it was the rear main seal. So at this point I'm contemplating just going ahead and doing the manual swap, since I'm already basically halfway there. And I started looking into what I needed to do. So some of the Civic Wagons, or maybe all the EFs in general, didn't come with a pre-drilled hole for the clutch cable, because the older Hondas are not driven by hydraulics, it's all clutch cables. So I have a parts wagon that I was looking at, and you can see it has the sleeve and everything that holds the whole clutch cable assembly so it doesn't rip through the firewall. And as you can see on the inside of my right-hand drive wagon, nothing's there. Also have another wagon that's automatic, and you can see it has provisions there for a clutch cable, which kind of sucks that my right-hand drive did not. So we got to figure out how to get this sleeve for the right-hand drive, which we ended up pulling from my parts car. So after figuring that issue out, we had to figure out how to get a clutch pedal actually in the right-hand drive car. So here I've got the right-hand drive pedal assembly and then a left-hand drive manual pedal assembly, and I'm trying to figure out how I can conjoin them together. So ended up lopping off the clutch pedal itself and mocking it up onto the right-hand drive. So I've got everything positioned, get it tacked up, and then see how it fit in the car. As you can see, I lopped the automatic pedal so the clutch pedal could fit properly, but everything fit. Also, I got my wheels back from powder coating, and they looked sick. So this is where I'm stealing the collar from my parts wagon, which this thing was disgusting, so I had to clean it out before I even got in there. And all it is to get this out is drilling some spot welds. Pretty easy. Then mocking it up in the right-hand drive, which this was a pain, and then drilling the hole for the clutch cable was pretty scary, but we got it done. So I got the clutch cable collar welded in. If I was to do this over again, I would pull the dash so I can have as much room as I can to weld that. And then next I decided to lop the brake pedal part where your foot goes off the manual assembly and weld it onto this, and it looks OE. And put it back in for the last fit up before I completely burn the whole assembly together. And everything was working properly. The pedal sprung back and engaged the clutch cable like it should. Here I've got everything welded up, sanded down, and also welded this support in just like it is on my my other manual car, which is an RT as well. And I know these have issues of cracking, so I was trying to prevent that, so I don't have to take this back out ever again, hopefully. And here I'm showing my RT where it has that support in there. Now it's time to move to the rear mainsail and get that fixed. And now to remove all the automatic crap. So this is the clutch cables out of my RT. Stole all my RT stuff out of that car. Fitting it up, and I noticed that there's no holes to mount it down like in my RT. As you can see here, it had holes already pre-glued or welded in. So I decided to go with some riv nuts to get that assembly in there. So since we're switching to manual, I wasn't able to use the automatic transmission mount anymore, and I had to source an RT mount, which was kind of challenging. And I think I decided to use this little gasket. Yeah, I used this gasket to help seal it, which it didn't work out like I wanted to. I still need to go back and plate that bottom end. But there's everything mounted down. Lined up pretty good from what I could tell. And this was a pain to get those in there, and to get the old automatic cable out. I wish I knew the proper way to do that, because I fought that forever doing that. And I just ran down to O'Reilly's, got a stock clutch, and started putting everything back together. And I sourced the mount finally from my friend Andy out in Maryland. He got that sent over to me ASAP, and we start to put everything back together. A fair warning, if you're watching this for tutorial, wait until you see this, because I screwed up royally and had to take this all back apart. So here I'm comparing the RT four-wheel drive manual output shaft to the RTI auto output shaft, and the faces are different. On the auto one it's a lot bigger, and I need that on the manual one so it'll made up to the drive shaft. So I was trying to figure out how to do that properly, and it looks like it's got splines and an axle nut, and you just take it off and replace it. The one thing I learned from this is that before you take it apart, check how easy it spins, so when you put it back together you can at least pseudo match it. Because I couldn't find the proper form that told me how tight that needed to be, that axle nut. So hopefully someone else can put that in the comments for me. And here's the clutch pedal assembly finally welded together and painted up. Got all my fluids. And this is where I found out that I needed to cut the automatic mount off and weld in an RT mount, which I'm showing here the differences. See how the automatic mount sits a little bit lower. Ordered this. Thankfully it was on eBay. It was kind of haggard, but I made it work. And getting the old one out was kind of a pain in the ass, but I got the new one in there, got it welded up. Which of course I used a weld through primer. Try my best to rust prevent all this. And I just used some flat black rattle paint, just try to not stand out too much in the engine bay. And there it is, bolted back up, and it looks proper this time. So now it was time to do first start and first drive. And this is my first right-hand drive car and first time driving a right-hand drive manual car to be that, so this was a very interesting first drive. And there was 0 leaks finally, which was the main goal out of all of this. But we finally did it. No more leaks from the oil pan. So after enjoying the newly swapped car, we started to dive back into it and adjust the valves because they were really loud and the car was underpowered. Also, I went to try to put the dust shield back on from the automatic, and that did not work, by the way, so don't try that, learn from me. I got the valves done, and I was trying to do a test drive, and I started leaking fuel from the ejectors, specifically the O-rings, so I needed to wait to get those. I ended up going to Honda and getting 4 new ones, and I also got tires put on the freshly powder coated Starks. So got all that put on, set the right height how I wanted, then finally got it started back up to see how good of a job it did with the valves. So every valve ended up being out of adjustment, which is crazy. So I got everything in the spec. Car was much smoother, quieter, and a lot peppier. And it was finally time to enjoy the car. So next on the list there was a hole in the rubber seal that the window rolls up. And luckily I had this stashed away in my Civic Wagon parts. So I got that swapped out real quick, and I didn't have any more wind noise while driving down the interstate, which bugged the crap out of me when we were going to Franklin, which is about 45-minute drive, 2 cars and coffee. So next we moved back to the Starks, and I had Paul from Fox Design remake the sticker for him. And I got those installed. Raymond came over, also drove the wagon for the first time, and damn does it look good with those Starks rolling. But I got each one of them installed, which I was pretty anal about trying to get them all matching. And sure enough, came out really good. I was kind of weary about the red being such a dark car, but it fit. Also, if you need any kind of stickers remade, hit up Paul. He's really awesome to work with, and he can basically make anything that you can think of. So. Of course, you gotta flex the Honda access mats. Also, if you know me, you know I'm really about my music, and this old radio did not cut it. So I had to yank that out, put a Bluetooth radio in there, and also put my cup holders mod in there from my Ford Taurus. And that's where we end it. This is how far I got with the car, and it's how it sits right now. So I hope this was helpful to everyone. I'm trying to help out the Civic Wagon community. A lot of these right-hand drive models are coming over here, and most of them are auto, and I'm hoping this keeps them on the road, makes people want to go buy them and convert them to manual. Hopefully save these wagons, because I mean every day they're getting bought up, stripped for their old drive parts, and then crushed. So hopefully this is a good video, helps everyone, and if y'all have questions, feel free to hit me up. And if you like this content, please hit that like button, leave a comment, also subscribe, because there will be more Civic Wagon content coming in the future. Also just EF content in general. Currently we have a Civic Hatchback SI that me and my wife are fixing up. It's her first project car, and it should be pretty exciting. So have a good one. Enjoy these last few pictures of when we first got the car, and I'll catch you next one.